محمد وآل محمد وجل
ولعن أعداءهم.
أما بعد فقال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذا حكمتم بين الناس أن تحكموا بالعدل. صلوات.
اللهم
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وجل فرجه.
Our condolence to the Imam of our time for the tragedy of Karbala, for the martyrdom of his grandfather Imam Sayyid al-Shuhada Imam Hussain alayhi salam, for the martyrs of Karbala from Bani Hashim and the martyrs from among his companions and those who joined him in Karbala to stand against injustice and oppression of his time and the rule of Taghut. We today commemorate Muharram in our most humble manner, the way we can, to join and to share the pain and grief of Ahlul Bayt when they lost the dearest members of the family of our Prophet. And there were many atrocities and perhaps unlimited atrocities and acts of oppression and injustice committed in Karbala, which to this day have caused pain and grief for Ahlul Bayt, for our Imam. And because we are closely linked to the family of Holy Prophet, we are the ones who believe in the hadith of Ghadir, and we are the ones, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, who commemorate every occasion, sad or happy occasion. So we are like the people who are very close to the family of our Holy Prophet, and therefore we share their sorrows, their pains, their joys, and their happiness. In every occasion, we cannot separate ourselves from whatever happened to Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great favor upon us that we have stuck to this path, and we have managed by the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue treading this path with all its difficulties and hardships, all by the grace of Allah and the great favor of Ahlul Bayt upon us, that they considered us, although we were not worthy of being anywhere close to them, but they granted us this favor and accepted us and guide us through our lives, inshallah. Today, because it is just one meeting together and it is being held in the month of Muharram al-Haram, so I would bring up discuss a subject and a topic that I can try to summarize and conclude in this one discussion with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you all can please recite a salawat.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad wa jal farajah.
I will raise a question. Usually I just mention a topic and go on, but I would like to mention today a question and then try to answer it, and I will welcome if after the discussion, if anyone has a question or comment, please feel free, because usually our discussions and talks are one way, like basically one speaker speaks and everyone just listens. And if any thoughts and comments or reflections you want to share, you're more than welcome to please do that. The question I'm trying to raise tonight is that why was the event of Ghadir ignored? The event of Ghadir, where the Holy Prophet of Islam announced the succession of Imam Ali after his last Hajj. Why only after 70 days, after 70 days, Saqifa was held, Saqifa Banu Sa'ida, people gathered over there, and then they all came together in the mosque and gave their allegiance to someone else. So 70 days passed, 2 months and a few days, and um, we don't see anyone raising his voice in the masjid. Maybe there were voices raised over there, but to the best of my knowledge and where places I've read, that in that event that where people came together, where there are indications that force was being used, but then people did not oppose this act which was being conducted, the allegiance that was being sought for the person who was declared as the first Khalifa. So why was Ghadir ignored? Why the Prophet's announcement where he required everyone to come and give their allegiance to Imam Ali, 2 months and few days later, Prophet passes away, people come together and give their allegiance to someone else. And now this question is important because there are those who raise this question against us, against our belief, and we have proofs from history that the event of Ghadir happened. It is something of consensus, within Muslims that this event actually took place. So the question they asked is, okay, if this happened and if the intention of Holy Prophet was not to just say that Ali is my friend and it was to actually appoint him as the next Khalifa, then what happened that all these people who you believe that gave their allegiance and who were told to follow Imam Ali, and Imam Ali was appointed as the next, the successor of Holy Prophet, how come people ignored this announcement and went ahead with someone other than what you believe was supposed to be the rightful, Caliph of Islam? So they basically what has happened in history, they want to insist that it was legitimate, and the very fact that what happened had happened, therefore they take it as a proof that it was right. That couldn't be otherwise. That if the Prophet had intended something else, how could this have happened? The way that all these Sahaba would turn against the Holy Prophet's announcement and take someone else. So what they're trying to say is that basically that because they appointed someone else as the Khalifa other than what you believe in, and they must have done it right because they must have understood the Prophet right, and you all understood the Prophet wrong. This is what they're trying to say. So to answer this question, you have to really understand the Arabian society and how things were at that time and why people were okay with the selection of someone else. I would say selection because really there was no election. People just came and accepted what had been decided for them. So no one came forward as another candidate. No one was allowed, and no one has been reported as seen as a second candidate, for example. So now why is this discussion important? Because, if you look at Muharram, where we commemorate Shahadat of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, we see that the people of Kufa behave somewhat the same way as the people of Medina did, where Imam Hussain is being invited to come to Kufa, and then the crowd turns against the 18 or 20,000 letters that were sent. Suddenly we see like as if nothing had happened and as if none of them had written any letters. We have a classic example of Shuraih Qazi, for example, that he was sitting among those who were giving their allegiance to Muslim ibn Aqil, and next day when Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad enters Kufa, the same Shuraih Qazi goes at night and sits with Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. And then a fatwa is issued in the name of Shuraih Qazi, which obviously he had consented to, declaring that Imam Hussain, Auzubillah, is a rebel who has revolted against the legitimate Khalifa of time, Yazid ibn Muawiyah, alayhi, and therefore he deserves to be punished for that. That people should rise up and support the Khalifa, Yazid, and go and crush this revolt or this rebellion against the legitimate Khalifa of Islam. So here we have people of Kufa showing their dissent against Yazid and then turning 180 degrees and going the opposite direction of accepting Yazid and abandoning Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And we are now in the days middle of Muharram, where Bibi Zainab's caravan is entering the city of Kufa and speaking to these people and calling them Ya Ahl al-Khatli wal-Ghadr, oh people of betrayal and disloyalty, oh disloyal and and basically people, liars, people who have betrayed the Ahlul Bayt. So we have to understand, like, what is going on? Why people behave this way? There are lessons this carries for us in our lives. Praying for the zuhur of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wasalam, and we are saying, okay, Ya Ibna Rasulullah, please come out of this ghaibat and we will support you. And then when Imam alayhi salam comes, what is to become of us? Are we going to keep our promise? Are these claims of loyalty going to come to fruition, going to manifest in some form of real obedience of Imam and support, so that the cause of justice will prevail and this injustice can finally be removed from the face of this earth? Is this promise ever going to materialize? So if we do not understand why people, suddenly fall asleep, or masses just sleep and completely abandon and completely neglect their responsibilities and completely forget what they had said yesterday. So if we don't understand that, we run the risk of becoming like them, becoming like the people of Medina in the time of demise of Holy Prophet, or the time of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where they showed disloyalty to Imam Ali on multiple occasions, all the way to Imam, and then Imam Hassan and then Imam Hussein alayhi salam, where what happened in Karbala on the 10th of Muharram, we now all know about. So if you look at the Arabian society, it was society divided in tribes. There was no central government. The tribal values prevailed, where there was no, like dynasty. There was no central government, nor was there any family whose leadership of Arabia would be passed on from father to son, son to grandson. It was not like that. Every tribe would come together and try to see who is the best candidate, who has the qualities that they valued, and who would be the best leader, best in that situation. Best, and a collective wisdom kind of would prevail, and people would come together and decide what to do for the future. So it wasn't like somebody passing away would say, okay, I appoint so and so, for example. And then we see in Makkah, Darul Nadwa, this place of consultation. There's some kind of council, city council kind of place in Makkah, which was created where people used to come and like a town hall, people used to come together and have their meetings over there. And there was the condition was that you have to be above 40 years old. You had to be at least 40 years old to enter that Darul Nadwa and be elected as one of the members of that assembly, consultative assembly of Makkah, or whatever you call it. Now, Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam was pretty young, compared to everybody else, when the Holy Prophet, and then the Holy Prophet from the start, in Dawat al-Ashira, the very first assembly that he brought together, the leaders of Bani Hashim together, some leaders from Quraysh who were related to the Holy Prophet, he invited them to Dawat al-Ashira, where he told them that I do not know of anyone who has brought you something more beneficial than what I have brought for you. He was talking about his risalat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said, whoever supports me in this cause will be my brother, my successor, and the one who will execute my will. So he said that whoever supports me, whoever offers his, declares his support to me, will I announce him today as my successor. Now, as Mufti Jafar Hussain Sahib, one of the great writers from Pakistan, he in his book Sirat Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he quotes a different classical, compilations of history like Tabari and Kamil ibn Asir and other books of history. And he says that, Imam Ali was 13 years old at that time. He was only 13. He stood up, looked at all these angry in that hall. All these angry people were sitting there looking at the Prophet with a lot of grudge and jealousy and hatred to why this Bani Hashim is producing another leader, and why is he making these claims of Risalat, and why is he asking us to all change our ways and all of that, and then asking us to support him in this cause. For them it was basically something very ridiculous. And then he announced, and then this 13-year-old boy stands up, looks into their eyes and says, Ana ya Rasulullah, I am going to be your support. I am going to be the one who will help you in this cause. And the Prophet asks him to sit down twice, and when no one else offers his support, Imam Ali alayhi salam stands up the third time. The Holy Prophet accepts the support and help of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. So obviously they did not go well for those leaders who were used to that tribal culture of, you have to be 60, 70 years old to be even considered as a leader. Here we have a 13-year-old boy who is beginning of a mission of Risalat of Holy Prophet, where nothing really has happened right now so far. Only some tabligh has been continuing in closed rooms between small groups of people in a very concealed manner. Here we have a first assembly of people who are somehow related to Holy Prophet, and this message of Risalat has not even gone out to the public. No one knows about it. And now he orders that all of you must obey Ali ibn Abi Talib who is just 13 years old. And you are a guy who's 65, 70 years old. You're being ordered and commanded by Holy Prophet to follow this boy who is 13 years old. But this was completely unheard of in that culture and in that situation. And from that day onwards, all the way till Ghadir and after, the Holy Prophet continued to emphasize on this message. Ali is my successor, Ali is this. And because he was fully aware of the tribal culture where this reason of seniority and other reasons, especially the fact that Arabs were, a lot of these leaders of Quraysh were very wary of leadership being in the hands of Bani Hashim. Because if you look at the history, Bani Hashim are the direct descendants of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam's wife Hajra was the one who founded this city. Basically, Ibrahim alayhi salam founded the city of Makkah. It belongs to him. This city belongs to him. The one who finds something, he was the founder of the city. There was nothing like Makkah. His wife Hajra and Ismail were the first people to be there on the city. Zamzam began, and the first tribe came with their permission and settled around this water, and then and this family of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam had special qualities that enabled them to be such great leaders for the city of Makkah throughout these ages. Basically, centuries after centuries, Bani Hashim continued to produce such great leaders who took care of the city and the people, provided guidance to them, hidayat, and they were, as we believe, were awliya. They were like Anbiya of previous nations. They were like Anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or somewhat like Anbiya, where there was always great people among them in every generation who continued to provide guidance. Now, Abu Sufyan and this Bani Umayyah and all that were very, very worried about this prospect that what if this Risalat, which has already come among Bani Hashim, what if it continues? This leadership, they looked at it not as Risalat, they looked at it as leadership, as control, as power. If it continues in the family of Bani Hashim, what's going to happen? Now, they were not alone. Bani Umayyah were not alone. There were many tribes of Arabia who agreed with them on this issue. Why? One of the reasons was that Ali ibn Abi Talib was a brave champion and warrior of Islam who in almost all the battles of Islam was at the forefront, basically removing every danger to Islam from his way. He was the one who would eliminate any danger coming to Islam. In Badr, in Uhud, in all these battles, Imam Ali alayhi salam was the one who killed the biggest champions from Quraysh, from other tribes who came to attack Medina. In Battle of Ahzab, they came together, 10,000 of them, and some of them crossed the trench, and Ali alayhi salam came forward and destroyed them really. Amr ibn Abdullah, and this is the story that repeats in war, battle after battle, battle after battle. So Imam Ali alayhi salam, he was totally unwilling to compromise with these leaders of kufr and oppression, and he was not ready to make any deals with them. His agenda was the agenda of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the agenda of Quran, that Tawheed must prevail. He was the one who took Surah Barat to Mecca and made sure that there was no more kuffar entering Mecca after that year. He was the one who confronted the whole of Arabia on the battlefields. If you had a battle between kuffar and Islam, well, you were 200% sure that the first person you will see on the battlefield is going to be Ali ibn Abi Talib, and you have to deal with him. And Ali alayhi salam's sword really had done a great job in removing all these challenges from the way of Islam, battle after battle. You can see that Ali ibn Abi Talib, even after the death of the Holy Prophet, Imam Ali alayhi salam, after many years became the Khalifa, and again, he was the champion of Jamal, he was the champion of Siffin, and the champion of Nahrawan. When he was more than 60 years old, he had the ability to basically come together and raise armies, manage them, command them, and win wars against enemies twice his size. In Jamal, the enemy was almost twice his size. In Siffin, the enemy was twice his numbers. Muawiyah raised an army of around 75 to 80,000 people. Imam Ali's army was around 40, and he was able to almost crush and destroy the army of Muawiyah, until if the people of Kufa had not, been what they did and created a fitna in the army of Imam Ali had definitely won that war. So here we have Imam Ali, they're holding these grudges against Ali alayhi salam. Okay. I will mention one more reason. If you can recite a salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. If you look at the migration of Prophet Muhammad from Mecca to Medina, this is really interesting. Well, the Ansar, who were called Ansar, are the people of Medina who welcomed the Holy Prophet. So the Holy Prophet moves to Medina from Mecca because his life was in danger in Mecca. He could not continue living in Mecca because Abu Talib was gone, Janab Khadija was gone, there was no one to protect him anymore. People were hostile, the tribes had all come together against Holy Prophet. They would have come and killed him. They tried their best. That night they came together outside his house. Ali stepped on his bed, the Holy Prophet left the city. So here he came to Medina. People of Medina, the Ansar, the city actually was Yathrib, but it became Madinatul Nabi, so that's why we call it Medina. The people of Medina, a big part of them, I would say, strongly supported the Holy Prophet of Islam, strongly supported. And it was their closeness with Holy Prophet, unlike the people of Quraysh, who showed so much hostility towards Islam and Holy Prophet. The people of Medina were showing their love and their support and loyalty to Holy Prophet for 10 long years. That in every battle that was hard, Ansar, you can't say, cannot compare them with Ahlul Bayt, but they were the people of Ansar, they were a good number of people who stood by the Holy Prophet of Islam in difficult times. So, but the Holy Prophet is constantly emphasizing about the future. Ali is my successor. Ali is my successor. I am appointing Ali. In Ghadir he says, Man kuntu mawlahu fahada aliyun mawlahu. Right? You are aware of all this. So, but Ansar are watching, as smart people, intelligent people, they're watching what's going on. The Prophet keeps insisting and nobody's listening. And they saw that Quraysh are openly defying the orders of Holy Prophet. And I'm not only talking about the Quraysh of Makkah, I'm talking about the Muhajirin. A big part of them are defying the orders of Holy Prophet. The Prophet says something about Ali and they go around and do something else. The Holy Prophet said something about, like battle of the Usama, Lashkar Usama. He raised an army in his last moment, last days. He said everybody should join. They saw that everybody disobeyed. And they did not listen. They saw that Quraysh have very clear designs that they would subvert this whole operation of Islam. They would take over after the Holy Prophet is gone. They will completely ignore the announcement in Ghadir and they will have one of their people in power. So the Ansar said, okay, they saw that basically the trend is the currents are going against the will of Holy Prophet. That people are not accepting the order and declaration of Ghadir. So what do the Ansar do? So you would say that, well, the right response would be for the Ansar to come to the Ahlul Bayt and say, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we have accepted you as our leader. Now Quraysh are unwilling to accept it, but we are on your side. And therefore, after the Holy Prophet, we are going to stand by you and we are going to support you. Instead, what happened was they got scared and they got divided. They got scared because they saw that, well, we have, along with the army of Islam, Ansar had killed a lot of leaders of Quraysh. They had killed many soldiers who came to fight Islam. Ansar was strongly supporting Holy Prophet, and therefore they were fearing revenge, that the Quraysh takes over, Quraysh comes to power after Rasulullah's demise, they're going to exact their revenge on the Ansar. So they went to Saqifa Banu Sa'ida for that reason, that either bring a Khalifa from them, from among the Ansar. So instead of saying, okay, you know what, Rasulullah appointed Ali, let's go to Ali. They felt that no, there's no way these people are going to, there's no way the Arabs are going to accept a person his age, and a person who has fought so many battles, who is being seen as a person, who's unrelenting, uncompromising, that they wanted to either take power from the Quraysh after Rasulullah or have a share in power with the Quraysh. So they came together in Saqifa Banu Sa'ida, and they were having these discussions, negotiations between Aus and Khazraj, the two tribes of Medina. And unfortunately for them, that the spies brought news to these first and second Khalifas that the Ansar have come together in Saqifa Banu Sa'ida and they're electing their own person for the Khalifa. So you better rush. So everybody abandoned the janazah of Holy Prophet and they went to Saqifa Banu Sa'ida to take part in this debate over who's going to be the Khalifa after Rasulullah. And everybody is working on self-interest. Ansar were divided into groups, and now what happened was that collectively they agreed to choose whoever became the first Khalifa. And that's why you see in the khutbah of Hazrat Sayyidah Fatima Zahra Salamullah Alayha, Allahumma that she is looking at the Ansar. Why have you abandoned us? You gave so many sacrifices. 10 years we have fought alongside the Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. And now the time when the Holy Prophet is departing us, you have turned your backs on Holy Prophet and you have you have become scared and you have neglected your responsibility. Well, you were the ones who invited the Holy Prophet to Medina. You were the ones who gave your support and loyalty. Now is the time where Holy Prophet, who has made announcement for Ali in Ghadir, you have abandoned Ali and you have found this, you have come together and found this kind of political arrangement where you will sideline Ali ibn Abi Talib and have these people take power in their hands. And Bibi Sayyidah Salamullah Alayha is challenging them to stand up against this bid'at that has been created in Islam. But unfortunately, they did not listen to this. Now, there are those who say that, well, Arabs Well, they saw that Ali alayhi salam, like today's word, they're radical, and they could not accept Bani Umayyah either, because Bani Umayyah obviously had been fighting the Holy Prophet till the very last time. So they decided to choose some moderates. These were the people who are seen as moderates. There are some who say this. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as moderates in Islam. If you don't follow the path of Ghadir, you are basically a hypocrite. So that's exactly what happened. These people who failed to heed the command of Holy Prophet, who failed to give their allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib, they became the leaders of munafiqeen, the leaders of nifaq, and became the enemies of Islam themselves. As you see that Karbala is a direct result of this tragedy. Karbala is a direct result of what happened in Saqifa Banu Sa'ida. That when they ignored the announcement of Holy Prophet in Ghadir, they saw that they started changing Islam. They started messing with the teachings of Islam. They started ignoring the justice, the system of justice in Islam. And the ayat I recited in the beginning, the Holy Quran says, when you rule among the people, you must rule with justice. And we see that right from the first Khalifa, the Baitul Mal were being divided with favoritism. They used to give more money to some, less money to some others. We know very well that Aisha was getting a lot of money in the time of second Khalifa. We know very well that Muawiyah became the ruler of Syria during the time of second Khalifa. We know very well that all these people who were Talha, Zubair, and Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, and these people become very rich. Because when they ignored Ghadir, well, that was only the start. Then the futuhat, the conquests that were going on, millions and millions of dinar and gold and silver were coming from different cities. And the same people who got power in their hands, they collected all this money for themselves. They bought lands and palaces. They made their own, own empires everywhere they were. And this, as time passed, money consolidated in the hands of a few people. And the masses were impoverished. The masses continued to suffer more and more. Muawiyah became very powerful in Sham. Muawiyah minimized he did not allow the people of Sham to have anything to do with Hijaz and Iraq. He basically kind of prevented any contacts from the Shamis and into the Iraq and Hijaz, so that they would not know what Islam really is. He limited the communication between the Sham and Iraq and Hijaz. So why he was doing that? He was doing that so that people would only see the Islam from the eyes of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. And Abu Sufyan and Muawiyah, they were the openly, they were enemies of Islam. Till the last, they only accept Islam when they had no choice. Because after Fath Makkah, if you know, that the Holy Prophet said that the house of Abu Sufyan, whoever gathers over there will be given amnesty. The Holy Prophet allowed that if somebody would come together, people who come together in the house of Abu Sufyan will have amnesty. When they gathered in the house of Abu Sufyan brought these people to Rasulullah, and out of fear they all said, we become Muslims. But the Holy Prophet accepted their Islam and gave them amnesty. But these are the tulaqa. Abu Sufyan, Muawiyah, and all these people are the ones who never became Muslims. And then from the time of second Khalifa, they are becoming more and more powerful. But until the time of Imam Hassan comes, Muawiyah had become too powerful. So as a result of all these divisions within Iraq and all these problems that had happened, and then we have a situation where Yazid came to power, and everyone was being forced to accept Yazid as Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imam Hussein alayhi salam saw that now this is what I'm saying is Ghadir was ignored. Ghadir was ignored because of fear, self-interest, ignorance, because of these biases, prejudices among the tribes, because people had jealousy, leaders did not to give their control and accept the control of Bani Hashim, who were the descendants of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim was the one who stood single-handedly against Namrud and the people of Babel, where all were idol worshippers. One Ibrahim alayhi salam broke the idols and stood against them, and he was thrown in the fire. one Ibrahim who was an orphan, this young man stood against all of them. Finally, he had to leave Babul. And here we have descendant of Ibrahim, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wasalam, standing alone against mushrikeen and kuffar of Quraysh and the Quraysh and mushrikeen and munafiqeen of Arabia. Please recite a salawat. Allahumma salli
على محمد وآل محمد وعجل
So
فرجه.
you should not be surprised where a majority fall asleep. Happens. Many times happens because of lack of faith. When you do not connect your actions with akhirat. When you do not remind yourself that I have to face Rasulullah. I am a person who's carrying an amanat and trust of Rasulullah on my shoulders. And if I ignore this trust, whatever damage happens to Islam and Ahlul Bayt and Quran, I will be answerable. I will be held accountable for any loss that happens to Islam. Any danger, anything that goes wrong in Islam and among the Muslims, I will be held accountable if I do not stand strong on the path of Rasulullah and Islam. And when people start looking at, see, there's a hadith from Mawla Ali alayhi salatu wasalam. He says that inna fil adli sa'atun, that I will say in Urdu, adl mein jo hai wo gushaish. There is abundant, plenty of room in justice. So justice can accommodate everyone. And then Imam Ali said, وَمَنْ ضَاقَ عَلَيْهِ الْعَدْلِ فَالْجَوْرُ عَلَيْهِ أَضْيَقُ. He says a person who cannot tolerate justice, he will find it harder to tolerate injustice. A person who cannot live with justice will have to pay a bigger price with injustice. See, why people do not stand up for justice? The people of Medina, Ansar, why did not stand up for justice, which was to allow Ali to be the ruler? Why did it not? Because of fear, right? Because of fear, they refused to give their loyalty, their support to Ali alayhi salam. What happened as a result? They had to deal with a bigger fear, bigger danger. When Muawiyah came to power, when Yazid came to power and they destroyed and ransacked the city of Medina and raped so many women and stole their wealth and destroyed their homes, when you do not stand up for justice, you have to suffer a lot more from injustice that prevails as a result of this negligence. Please cite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
This is the tragedy of Muslims. Tragedy that happened in the history of Islam because of this loyalty of the Muslim masses. And we have a situation where you see that Yazid comes to power, Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, he sees that people are not doing their part in standing against injustice. And all the burden of standing against injustice and oppression falls on the shoulders of Hussain ibn Ali, Abbas ibn Ali, Qasim ibn al-Hasan, Ali Akbar, Ibn al-Hussain, Imam al-Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam, and the sons of Muslim ibn Aqil, and the sons of Ja'far al-Tayyar, and sons of Aqil, and then upon the shoulders of a few companions, the responsibility and burden of establishing justice and stopping corruption and stopping oppression, the responsibility fell on the shoulders of Ali al-Asghar. This responsibility of protecting Islam fell on the shoulders of Sakina bint al-Hussein, on these widows and these children who were found, who were in Karbala, basically denied food and water, denied any support. The roads going out of Karbala were all blocked. No one could come and offer their support to Ahlul Bayt. Support of justice is a responsibility for all the people. When the people they forsake their responsibility, then a few pious people have to stand up for justice and give such a big sacrifice to protect justice, to protect Islam, and to stop injustice in its way, But in a most tragic way, Karbala happened. It is a lesson that if people do not act, if people fail to keep their word, keep their promises, then a price is paid for which the whole world will cry for 14 centuries. Today we cry, today the Shia especially, all over the world, they cry in Muharram, they come out and hold these processions in any way and every way possible, they come out, hold their majalis and scream and yell and shout and tell the world, announce to the world, denounce Abu Sufyan and his followers, denounce Yazid, denounce all these munafiqeen who destroyed the teachings of Islam and who deviated from the path of the Holy Prophet. And this is a faryad, this is a protest. Every time Muharram happens, we come out and we condemn it. We condemn it because the responsibility is ours. Responsibility is for Ahlul Islam to stand up for Islam. But when Ahlul Islam become followers of Yazid ibn Muawiyah and they hold grudges against the followers of Holy Prophet, against Ahlul Bayt, against Ali, Amir al-Mu'minin, then who will come and stand for the teachings of Islam? Who is going to come and stand up for Ghadir? It is going to be us who will stand, and who will, even if we have to pay the price for doing that, because we believe that we have to face the Holy Prophet one day, and he is going to see who stood by the order of Ghadir and who did not. Because Ghadir was the path forward that goes to paradise. Because you cannot pick and choose. In the Iman on Holy Prophet, you cannot say, I accept this from Rasulullah and I do not accept that from Rasulullah. When the Holy Prophet said, Allah said, if you do not convey this message, you have not conveyed your risalat. And the Holy Prophet said, I appoint Ali after me. So you support Ali alayhi salatu wasalam tomorrow when the Holy Prophet stands on the day of Mahshar and sees who is on my side. Those who stand as a witness of Ghadir today, tomorrow they will be again accepted by the Holy Prophet as true Muslims and true believers in Islam. Unfortunately, the masses did not do their responsibility. The Bibi Zainab, when she entered the city of Kufa, the Muslim Jassas, this person who was renovating and painting the walls of Darul Amara in Kufa, he narrates that I was working and I heard hue and cry, I heard some noise, and I asked, what's going on? What's this noise about? And I was told that a Khariji, a person who had revolted against Yazid, Amir al-Mu'minin, the Khalifa, he has been killed and their heads are being brought into the city. He said, who is this rebel? Who is this Khariji who has been killed by the forces of Khalifa? They said it is Hussain ibn Ali. Muslim says that when I heard the word Hussain ibn Ali, my body started trembling. But I did not utter any word that I would be caught, and I let this person leave. Then I hit my face so hard that I feared that my eyeballs will come out of grief and anguish. How could it be that Hussain ibn Ali has been killed? He says that I walked towards the sound and the noise which was coming. I saw that there were women and there were children walking into the streets of Kufa and on the marketplace where thousands of people had gathered over there, clapping and celebrating the victory of Yazid against what they thought was a rebel. And he saw that people of Kufa, some of them were bringing dates and khajur and offering them to these children. And this lady was standing there, she was saying, Inna sadaqata alayna haram. Sadaqah is haram upon us, Ahlul Bayt. And she would snatch these dates from the hands of these children and throw it on the ground. And then these people who saw and who asked these women, min ayyil usara antunna, to which family do you belong? Because these people, the kind of faces they were seeing, they were astonished to see what kind of family they must be. They don't look like some Khariji at all. They asked them, who are you? Which family do you belong to? And the response from this Asiran was, Nahnu usara ali Muhammadin. We are the Asiran and we are the prisoners from the family of Rasulullah. And we saw that some of these women would bring chadars for these usara, which were obviously taken away from them again. And then when these people saw the condition of Zainab and Kulsum and these women and these children, they started crying. And Zainab Salamullah said that taqtuluna rijalukum wa tabki alayna nisaukum, that your men have killed us yesterday and today your women have come together. You are crying upon us. You are the same women who raised such men who came and killed us yesterday in Karbala, and now you are weeping and lamenting upon our loss. Ala la'natullah ala al-qawm al-zalimeen. وسيعلم أيام انقلب ينقلبون